Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, the place to come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 252, Living Authentically, the Power of Boundaries and Integrity. Well, welcome back, where we'll be finishing out this month of boundary work. So far this month, we've been talking about how not to walk on eggshells, who creates the eggshells, how not to be that person, and in essence, how to have safer relationships. Well, this week, I want to take the conversation just a little bit deeper into the core of what I work on the most with clients. Self-confidence and self-trust and feeling like you have integrity. I mean, you like who you are. Well, we can't do or have any of that good stuff, I don't believe, without, you guessed it, boundaries. So before we get into that, I just want to remind you to hit the show notes where the links are for all the courses that I have to offer. To start, there's a free offering of a boundaries ebook that also has many podcasts in there, and it has worksheets and thought provokers and things to get you started working on boundaries or restarted if you fell off the horse. And then if you want more in-depth work, I have a 3-part masterclass on how you lost your voice and how to find it again. And that has lots of great work for you to do, not only videos to watch and listen to, but also some great homework to get you digging in deep. And if you really want to honor yourself, there is my course, Find Your Voice. And that is a 12-module immersive experience, which is self-directed. It's online. But there's also this great group coaching component and one-on-one help from me. And I'm seeing people make tremendous changes in this course, and I just highly recommend it. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or go ahead and hit the show notes and get signed up. All right, so let's get into it. What does it mean to live authentically, really? And what do boundaries and integrity have to do with that? Well, first, we have to understand what boundaries are, and I'm not going to go in depth in this episode. I have plenty of episodes on boundaries. I'm sure you can find them, or you can grab the ebook. Well, today I want to focus on explaining what boundaries are high level and what they're not, and then why they're not only crucial for personal well-being and healthy relationships, but having boundaries or not having boundaries, I think, can mean the difference between us having integrity within ourselves or not. I think it's a really big deal and an aspect that we don't talk about enough. Boundaries can be physical, emotional, or psychological, we know. They help define where you end and another person begins, literally. And by setting and respecting boundaries with other people, we protect our integrity. I think we define and protect our integrity and maintain healthy connections. It keeps it safe. You hear me say that all the time because it's true. So your physical boundaries, like these are the ones that relate to your personal space in your body. They include the things like your personal belongings, your physical proximity to others, like in the grocery store, and your comfort level with touch. For example, if someone consistently invades your personal space or touches you without your consent, it can violate your physical boundaries. By asserting your physical boundaries and communicating what feels comfortable and what doesn't, I think you protect your physical integrity and maintain for yourself a sense of safety and autonomy. That way you are in a place of choice of whether or not you want to be touched or in the same space with someone. Next are our emotional boundaries, and they involve separating your emotions from those of others. This means recognizing and respecting your own feelings and not taking on or taking responsibility for other people's emotions And for some of you, easier said than done. This may take a lot of work, and if it does, it's not your fault. That's how you were conditioned in the beginning. For instance, if a friend constantly relies on you for emotional support, but they never reciprocate, it can really strain your emotional boundaries. Setting clear emotional boundaries allows you to prioritize your own well-being while still offering support to others when appropriate. So the boundary work there is, this is not a mutual relationship. And you're honoring your need, it's not a want, it's a need, to also feel heard by others. And then finally, the psychological boundaries. These are the ones that pertain to your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, your ideas. They involve respecting your own opinions and perspectives while acknowledging and accepting those of others. You don't have to agree with them to accept them. So when someone tries to impose their beliefs or opinions on you, it can really challenge your psychological boundaries. When you are able to maintain firm but flexible psychological boundaries, I think you can really preserve your sense of identity and your sense of autonomy while still allowing you to engage in meaningful dialogue and collaborate with other people. But do you see the theme here? There's a separate sense of self. So in all three areas, setting and respecting boundaries with others is so important if you want to protect your integrity and to maintain healthy connections, because you know it's going to cause distance, conflict, all kinds of things if you don't. So when we establish clear expectations for how we want to be treated, I think it can foster mutual respect, and it creates a space where both of you can feel safe and valued. And then we want to, like we've talked about here on the show, be more open and vulnerable because it is safe, because there are boundaries, and then we have deeper connection. And that's what we all are yearning for. So those are our external boundaries, but I also today want to include our internal ones, the self-discipline. So this is where we talk about our ability to regulate our thoughts, our emotions, and our behaviors. Self-discipline plays a huge role in upholding these internal boundaries, I think, because they allow us to align our actions with our values and maintain our integrity or not. Examples are like being on time, maybe respecting your own time, respecting your own finances, choosing what you focus on and bring energy to, taking care of your responsibilities. So those are some examples. Self-discipline, saying no to yourself sometimes so you can have healthy finances and a healthy body and all those things. Okay, so that gives you a sense of what I mean by external boundaries and internal boundaries and what those are. Again, if you struggle with all of that, and that's a huge concept, go back and listen to the episodes on boundaries, check out my ebook, and if you want some coaching around that, let me know. I just talked about why boundaries are important, but I want to take a look at the long, and I mean long list of consequences when we don't. So when you listen to this, you probably already know some of them you don't, but take note gently if you struggle with some of these, or maybe you're working on some of these, which is great, but also look around you and see why it might help to explain what might be issues for those folks and issues in the relationship between you and them. All right, so you ready? Here's a list of potential costs of not having boundaries, especially when it comes to self-trust and integrity. Of not having boundaries. Resentment. Burnout. Overwhelm. Low self-esteem. Feeling taken advantage of. Loss of autonomy. A lack of clarity on your personal values. Having difficulty in asserting yourself. Tolerance of mistreatment, settling. Emotional exhaustion. Inconsistent behavior. Compromised authenticity. Deterioration of relationships. being disconnected from your own needs, having a really hard time making decisions, greater susceptibility to manipulation by others, a definite increase in stress and anxiety, loss of respect and trust from others, a strained sense of identity, and in essence, feeling out of control, like you don't have control over your own life. So these costs highlight the negative consequences that can really come up from not establishing and maintaining healthy boundaries. That's why I think they're so important. So as you listen to some of those, you may struggle, and that's okay, and you can work on them. And if those were qualities that you saw in others around you, then that's something to really sit and think about. Because without boundaries, we can't have healthy relationships, I don't believe. And the most important relationship we need to begin with is the one with ourselves. So let's talk about the connection between boundaries, self-discipline, and integrity. When we honor those external boundaries, when we say no to people, when we honor their time, for example, and then when we have self-discipline, we preserve our integrity. And I think we can cultivate a sense of authenticity and coherence, like our life feels like it's more in alignment. We feel more grounded. Our insides match our outsides. Who we are out there is who we are on the inside. We have become clear with who we are, and therefore we can feel a lot less anxious and more grounded. So let's break down that statement. So imagine integrity as like this sturdy house, with boundaries and self-discipline as the foundation and the structure that keep it standing strong. Boundaries. Think of boundaries as the fences around your house. They define your personal space and protect it from intrusion. External boundaries are the limits you set with others in terms of what behavior is acceptable for you or not. For example, it could be saying no to requests that compromise your values, or making it clear how you expect to be treated in your relationships. Self-discipline. Now imagine self-discipline then as the maintenance work you do to keep your house in good shape. That means managing your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions to make sure that they're in alignment with your values and your goals. This can mean resisting temptations that go against your principles, or maybe just sticking to a routine that supports your well-being. So there's alignment there. And then finally, integrity. So integrity, I see, is like the harmony and the coherence of your house. It's the consistency between what you believe, what you say, and what you do. Let me repeat that. The consistency between what you believe, what you say, and what you do. Not perfect, but congruent, like for the most part. When you honor external boundaries with others, and then those internal boundaries, the self-discipline within yourself, I think you're acting with integrity. You're living authentically as best you can, and you're staying true to your values, and you're maintaining a sense of wholeness and authenticity in your life. So the relationship between boundaries and self-discipline and integrity is like a symbiotic one, I think. So boundaries provide the structure within which our self-discipline operates. And then self-discipline reinforces the integrity of those boundaries. I think together they can really help to create a solid foundation for living a life that feels true to yourself. It feels good. It's based on what matters to you, what's important to you, and your identity, like who you are, what you're about. I think it really helps you cultivate a deep sense of authenticity and coherence. And this is where I want to get into the fact that when we work on our integrity, when we work on our boundaries, we build self-confidence and self-trust. Because with all the alignment I just spoke about, you begin to feel like you make sense. Everything feels like it works together and it makes sense. When you set boundaries around what you think and what you feel separate from what other people think and feel, you honor what you think and feel. You honor it. You say, that's true for me. That's my truth. And that makes sense for me. No wonder I'm pissed today. No wonder I'm frustrated. No wonder I believe in that cause. That makes sense. So you build self-trust. You start trusting what you think and what you feel to be valid. Not that you can't change those later if you want to, but you trust that it's true for you. And I think we really underestimate the power of that. You trust that your values matter and that they matter enough for you to begin living them out more and more. So what I mean by that is if you say, I really value my time, it means saying no to requests for help or when people want to spend time with you if it goes against what you set up for yourself. Making the talk and the walk line up. I also think that when we work on boundaries, when we work on self-discipline, and we build integrity, I think we can also see it as a form of reparenting ourselves. So reparenting involves giving ourselves the care and the support and the guidance that maybe we didn't receive in childhood. They did the best they could. Maybe they didn't have it to give. It's about nurturing our inner child, and I think it's about meeting our own emotional needs in healthy and constructive ways. So when we set and we actually honor boundaries, when we practice self-discipline consistently enough, and when we act with integrity, I think we're essentially providing ourselves with the structure and the guidance and the validation that may have been lacking in our upbringing. Because now we're learning to listen to our own needs, to advocate for ourselves, and in essence, really prioritize our own well-being. By reparenting ourselves through all this stuff, I think it helps us to begin healing past wounds and those old patterns, those self-destructive patterns. But I think it also helps us build a foundation of self-trust, self-respect, and self-confidence. Because when you follow through on a boundary, you have more respect for yourself. And when you don't, you know how it feels. When you follow through and honor what you feel, and don't let people talk you out of what you feel or what you think, you show yourself respect. In essence, you're reclaiming your agency and your autonomy, and you're empowering yourself to create the life that you desire on your own terms. So I really think the journey of boundaries, the external ones, the internal ones, and integrity are all interwoven. There's the phrase that people can't take your integrity away, but you can give it away piece by piece. Every time you allow yourself to be mistreated, every time you tolerate something that's toxic or unhealthy, every time you don't follow through on something you said mattered to you, every time you don't love yourself enough to, let's say, eat healthier, try to get more sleep, try to reduce your stress. Every time we either follow through or don't, as best we can, and what we say matters to us, determines how much integrity I think we feel and that we actually have. Because we got to remember too, other people see that in us or they don't. They see that we are consistent and congruent or not. They see us as trustworthy or not. Whether they can trust us to take responsibility or not. And responsibility encompasses everything about us, as you know. Our thoughts, our feelings, our choices, our behaviors, our beliefs, and how we take care of ourselves. It's not their job to take care of us. It's our job. And it is potent when we can put people around us who also do the same thing. Not perfectly, but for the most part, we can trust and let go of the fact that they're going to take responsibility for themselves. They're going to own their choices. They're going to be assertive with what they need. When both people are in a place of choice, we can have a healthy relationship. Anything outside of that is unhealthy in my mind. And so when we work on boundaries and integrity, we change the game for ourselves. And even if we started this work a long time ago and kind of fell off the horse or became complacent, it's okay, because the beauty of this work is you can always hop back on whenever you want to and get back into the work. Or maybe you did a bunch of work, then you just took a break, and now you're ready to go even deeper because now you're braver and now you want more and better. And that's why I love this work, because I see it change people's lives. But one of the things we need to remember is we can't do this work by ourselves. We need the love and support and encouragement and the consistency of those around us. So if you don't have that support in your life, make sure you join our online private community. It's a private Facebook group. I do Facebook Lives every Wednesday night where we get into these topics, and I record them too. So if you can't make them live, you can hit the recording. We do all sorts of stuff in that group. It's a great place to find support, education, and encouragement. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If nothing else, I hope it got you thinking about where you are. Do it with compassion and love, please. And maybe where the folks are around you are in terms of this work. If you want to work on the boundaries, hit the links in the show notes. All the courses are there and the link to the group. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.